Welcome to a special news edition of the Wrestling Control Podcast, episode 824 of the program, kingofpodcasts.com, and I am said host, King of Podcasts. So I'm on tonight to go ahead and talk about the Vince McMahon story, yet another hit piece being put on by the folks at the Wall Street Journal. We've already covered this story in terms of Vince McMahon and the allegations being put against him. Now, I'm going to say this as I've said it many times in the past. We know that Vince was without sin. All right. We know this guy is not the best of guys. Okay. To become a billionaire as he did, he had to do a lot of shit. And he's put some other people under the bus. And he's probably fooled around with a lot of women in this time. And I wouldn't doubt if some of them decided to go ahead and, get money out of him. And, instead of putting a lawsuit on him, deciding to go ahead and settle with him, put an NDA down, and for whatever damage he did, they were paid off, which is where the $14 million went, that he paid himself. Remember, the part that the SEC was the issue that they had with was that it was something that he was paying for, right? Now, we've already gone through several times in this story already. We've already gone through this several times. What makes you think that there's going to be anything different this time around? I want to ask the question, because we've looked at this for a while. Now let's go ahead and look at this again. Now going back to Vince, remember the board probing the secret $3 million hush money pact by Vince McMahon. Going back to June of 2022. That story came out a while ago. We had that story. We talked about it. And then we look at the story and then we look at, okay, there were changes that were going within the company right before everything changed with Endeavor and TKO Group Holdings coming into play. Right? We had that going on. And then we move along and we see, okay, the story coming in about this $3 million hush pact, and that there was a relationship that was considered consensual and cooperating with the entry. Now, this is the story that goes back to where it was before, right? So we're going back to this again. Let me just make sure we get this right here. I'm going to pull this story back up one more time, just to make sure I got it. This is how far back it goes. It was a secret $3 million settlement. It goes back to June 15, 2022. And my guessing is this is the lawsuit that stems from this settlement. Okay? We thought it was secret. I'm trying to put context here. Okay? The folks at the Wall Street Journal, specifically Joe Palazzolo and Ted Mann, continue to go ahead and go after Vince McMahon because they want to cancel him. Could it be because of his political aspirations or his political, affiliations? Yes. I've made that clear. We know it is. And listen, they can go ahead and try to smear, they can go after him and try to go ahead and take him down. They keep trying. This story gets out there. You see the same cast of characters reporting the story after that. It's a timed hit piece. Immediately after the Netflix deal goes down, right? And right before one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. Yeah. The timing says everything. Now, remember, the name was Janel Grant. Now, this is the one we have right now. It was Janel Grant. That's who we have right now. And so, Khadija Safdar, right, they decided to go and put somebody else in front of the story. But when you look at the story, it's still, the byline still will go down as Joe Palazzolo and Ted Mann. These two guys have been a part of every story like this, every follow-up story. I think it's the fourth or fifth story they put out. They put this out here, position it, and if I'm correct, isn't this also during the earnings report? Also during the earnings report, by the way. Let's just make that point. When the earnings report went up and continues to go up like it did, you look at it, let's see what it did. Did it do anything to the stock price at all? At the moment, after hours trading, it's still holding up. $88. Now, it did take a hit earlier in the day, all right? Because it got up to, what was it? If you look as of yesterday, 9 a.m. this morning, opening bell, $88. Drops down to $87. And this is around what? 12:45 in the afternoon? This story dropped 4:50 this afternoon. So this is right after the opening bell. By the way, after the opening bell, keep that in mind too. Once again. That's around 4 o'clock. Yeah, $87. According to today, they said that it was down 0.4%. And then after hours went back up. Okay. What is this trying to prove? See, the thing is that this story doesn't do a dent. And then you see the same cast of characters that decide to go ahead and report on the story, right? And if we look at it and we try to figure out, okay, what is it that's being said about this story and this McMahon? Like, are we going to just find out if we have any thought process of like what's going to happen here? Because I'm going to look real quick and see if I can find one place that will give me the breakdown of what happened here. Here we go. 97 sources so far have talked about this story here. And so far, of those that are politically left, center, or right, okay, 26 of these articles are from left-leaning organizations, 17 from the right, 14 from the center. Center, what they say. The bias distribution. Because there's a lot of stories that picked up on it after the fact. They just went ahead and went with it because of who decided to put it out there. When CNN put it out there, their affiliates decided to go ahead and take on that as well. If Wall Street Journal reported on it, people will go ahead and take on it because there's a legitimacy to them. That's what they decide to do. And all the stories will say the same thing. Accused of trafficking. See, CNN puts accused of trafficking. Boston.com, former employee files sex abuse lawsuit against the company and the McMahon. Another, this McMahon accused of abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking. And others used the same story. They basically just took the exact same story and copied and pasted. All right? I'm looking right here. Ground.news. Just take a look at it for yourself. Every one of these stories, it's like SEO, okay? Title, description, right? The title, Vince McMahon accused of abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking in federal lawsuit against WWE 4 hours ago. They take that, and then the same thing, WWE chairman and CEO Vince McMahon has been accused of sexual assault, trafficking, emotional abuse, and numerous other allegations in a federal lawsuit. And then you see all these news articles picking up the same story. You know why? Because they don't know any choice to it, right? They all take the same story. I'm looking right now. All these news stories, all these other ones, where are they taking it from? They're all taking it from the same place, Associated Press. They all picked the Associated Press story and just went. That's it. And Associated Press also going extra at it. See, they have to go ahead and just go at it because they have no other choice. So let me take the Associated Press story. Again, another former executive of sexual misconduct. Vincent John Laurinaitis. And also, this young lady was offered to a star wrestler for sex. Long story short, Vince was having an affair, fooling around with Janel Grant, who was working in the company's legal and talent departments. And she was forced into a sexual relationship by McMahon in order to get and keep a job and passed around pornographic pictures and videos around to other men. They said she was also subjected to go ahead and have sex with John Laurinaitis, which we've already heard about that before. And the one talent they were trying to go ahead and have her have sex with in order to secure his contract for a new deal was Brock Lesnar. So that's what they're saying all this now. Again, Associated Press puts the story out there. And see, the idea is that, okay, Associated Press puts the story out. Let me tell you if there's any, bias in the story. The graphic 67-page suit. Graphic. That's a little bit strong. Now they move on to the story. I'm going to stick with the Wall Street Journal a little bit because it's also where the story came from. But of course, who took the story first was Wall Street Journal. They're the first ones to report it. Then everyone else followed suit after that. Okay? Because if you look at the stories, CNN didn't take until, 3 hours ago. But Wall Street Journal was first above everybody else. And then everybody else followed suit after that. Because somebody had to be the one to go ahead and take it in front. Moving right along. They go into the story about Vince McMahon when he stepped down as CEO with the allegations already given. So this already was done. Remember, the $3 million secret hush money pact. This is it. It's not a secret anymore. Instead, the Wall Street Journal decides, okay, we're not going to deal with this anymore. We're not going to put a secret person. We need to put somebody out in front that will attest to what happened, that will attest to it. So now Janel Grant is put out now front and center. So what Joe Palazzo and Ted Mann did was they forced this young lady to, invade her privacy. Okay. And now she has her name put out there and a lawsuit is put out as well. So, the story couldn't come out unless you give her name, right? Yeah, of course, so people are going to say, well, Janel Grant's name has to be said because, if Vince McMahon is going to go ahead and counteract this, they have to go and, there has to be a name that goes with it. So a name and a picture come along with it. And now we have it. All right. So Janel Grant, this story we've already got 2 years ago. The lawsuit here comes in. Janel Grant names defendants in the lawsuit, the WWE, John Laurinaitis, former head of talent relations and general manager. But here's the thing. AP typically does not name accusers in sexual assault cases, but Grant's representatives said she wished to go public. Her representatives. And by the way, she's not talking. Janel Grant's not talking. Her attorney is. Ms. Grant hopes that her lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimized. The organization is well aware of Mr. McMahon's history of depraved behavior. It's time that they take responsibility for the misconduct of his leadership. And callous. We used to have somebody that used to be regularly at this as well, named Gloria Allred. About the same kind of thing. And all you need to do to get into a little part of this, okay, is realize who's out there. Okay, and who people are talking about, right? Let me just put this out there. Again, this is all political. And I don't like to get political about this, but I'm just going to make the point that my only point about all this is this. We're just going along and having another story that's going out there to try to go ahead and bring down Vince McMahon and tarnish TKO Group Holdings and WWE in the process. But remember, he's already been investigated internally. The SEC is investigating him. He had federal officials put a warrant out on his house, and they searched his house. You want to get him for civil, and get more of a civil settlement off of him? You want to make more money off of him? Go right ahead. But the criminal part, you're trying, and Wall Street Journal, you continue to fail. Why do you keep going after him? What is this infatuation, this obsession you have over him? Like, seriously, you literally are sexually, obsessed with this man. I kid you not. I feel like you're masturbating to the idea that you can get him and take him down like a cancel culture. Your tiki torches are out. It's obvious. We know you are. And the wrestling public, I'm sorry, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren and the dirt sheets, you can't help yourselves, but take this story and run with it. Without even looking at what this really is. This is just a regurgitation from June 2022. The same bullshit over again. The only difference is now the lady that was part of the settlement has come forward in the public. And let's just look at it like this. Who is the attorney that's decided to go ahead and put this out in front? Ann Callis. And who is she? I'll tell you. She was a former representative candidate running for House in the state of Illinois. former Madison County District Chief Judge, first female judge in Illinois 3rd Judicial District, started Illinois' first special veterans court for veterans facing legal issues, and has been an advocate for veterans' needs. In her campaign, she talked about that, she's advocated for important issues that affect all women, equal pay for work, pushing the raise minimum wage, promoting the idea of paid family leave. She wants to be a voice for the thousands of women who work hard, play by the rules, and are still struggling to get ahead. Okay. So she is in politics. 10 years ago, she was trying to run for House. Well, she did not win, right? In 2020, she joined the firm of Holland Law Firm in St. Louis. So there's already stuff about her. If you want to go and find, the things that she's done herself that had been very, very nefarious in her own right. When she ran for Congress, she signed documents listing her as a resident of Missouri at the same time she was a judge in Illinois. Right? And there was proof to go behind there just to go and prove the point. In 2013, there was a bureau that actually reported that the former chief circuit judge previously failed to pay property taxes on her home in Troy, Missouri, as well as two homes. Also in the same, ownership, it is. She signed and notarized a 2008 mortgage agreement for a couple's Arizona homes and a deed transfer for properties. Identifying that she was a resident of the county of St. Louis, state of Missouri. But she was running for Congress in Illinois, right? There's that part. Okay. But she was a circuit court judge, and now she moves along and she's something else. What's going on with that? And my question is, I've never seen her go after anybody else before. What other cases has she made against anybody else? That's what I'm trying to find out. I've never seen this woman ever represent anybody else, but she's the one all of a sudden, this person that's coming across, she's now the one that is going to go ahead and represent. I've never seen her win any cases. I don't see her going up against anybody. She's not going to go already or anybody else has been an advocate for women. I mean, it's when she was a judge, but I never seen anything else. So she's here and now she's brought on for this. I don't see much of a case here. She's out here, makes this point, but all we have are what? The allegations. The allegations. So apparently, in the lawsuit, McMahon lived in the same building as Janel Grant and in 2019 offered to get her a job after her parents died. And then she said, alleges it was made clear to her that one of the requirements of the job was a physical relationship with him and later with John Laurinaitis and others. And he did lavish her with gifts and a luxury car, the suit says, and alleges that she was offered to one of his star wrestlers, which we learned is most likely is Brock Lesnar, who was a former UFC champion, they said. Sex with Grant was a perk in 2021. And the lawsuit states that WWE benefited financially from the commercial sex venture orchestrated by McMahon, including by having wrestling talent such as a WWE superstar sign new contracts after McMahon presented plaintiff as a sexual commodity for their use. So the other part that's being batted here is that now it's UFC. The fact that Brock Lesnar was coming on board. I mean, if he was offered, do we know if I don't even think he even had sex with her. It was an offer, but I don't think Brock Lesnar even was a part of this, right? I mean, how many of these of my folks, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, are actually reading the whole story and understand what it is? Now, I don't expect you to go ahead and look at the lawsuit and read through it, 67 pages. I don't expect you to, but I look at this here and it's the same thing over and over again. Same thing. Khadija Safdar, I don't know who this is, but she works for the corporate bureau in New York, an enterprise reporter. Writes on business and society. So, okay. Now, she has written about Jeffrey Epstein as of late, for the most part. The Abercrombie CEO and his alleged sexual abuse of male models, among others. So that's, there's most part she's written about Jeffrey Epstein, for the most part. But, as we said, basically she's just there to go and talk about mostly salaciousness, for the most part. But there's not much to go off of this here anyway. So we got the story of the lawsuits here. And again, 2022, $3 million, which was the $3 million secret settlement we already heard about before. The same thing over and over again. He resigned, he left, and by the way, no matter what everybody goes and says and wants to think about it, Vince McMahon came out, what was it, on SmackDown, like after the allegations, and said hello. Like he was just like, he doesn't care. And whatever happened since then, TKO Group Holdings, they bought him. The valuation was $9 billion. He sold. And now TKO Group Holdings and the broadcast deals are complete. And as I reported on the program, the last episode, which I did last night, they're making over $1 billion. And when I thought about the calculation again, think about it. They're making money off of $500 million in 2025 from Netflix, $250+ million from NBC Universal for the USA Network rights to SmackDown, the Peacock rights to the library and the premium live events, and another $20 to $30 million for the CW. $1 billion. $1 billion. We don't know what the deal with A&E is, but like still, $1 billion on broadcast rights. What else do you want? So Vince McMahon has already won over and over and over and over again. Of course, he is, almost Teflon because of the fact that, they're not going to go out. They're going to continue to go after him, try to take him down. They will ultimately fail again. But that's all that happened here in this story. If you needed to go and know about this, I just want to take a few minutes just to go and make the point of, okay, the story's here again. It is what they did is they put a hack attorney on this case to put the lawsuit out. Listen, she's being put out there, but she's got no collateral. Like there's nothing about her I'm looking at that makes her anywhere, I don't see anything about her that makes me feel like she's like some incredible, person that's going to go after this. Judge Ann Cowell. She's a partner at Hall & Law Firm, heads the firm's Madison County, Illinois office. She's won, awards and recognition for judicial service from the NAACP. Let's see here. I mean, there's not much more to it. Oh, she's married to also an attorney. There's not much else to it. It's like, okay, we have the story here, and this no-name is the one that's going to represent Janel Grant. My thing is, I think the person who's getting the most shafted off of this is Janel Grant. Poor her. I thought she was being kept silent on this. So why is she now being brought into this whole story once again and being put to attack? And of course, there's the allegations that are put in here. Oh, that he defecated on her head during a threesome, assaulted an ex-employee with sex toys, right? Bombshell lawsuit. Bombshell, right? So Janel Grant is the one that's brought in here. They actually name her now by name. So the biggest thing I can't stand is the fact that she has to be called out. Now her name has to be put out in a lawsuit. Now we have to have that. She had a legal administrator / coordinator job, salary $75,000. She was given a little bit of work. In the lawsuit, she was assigned an additional role to work at McMahon's XFL to help her full time when McMahon was still working on that. May 2020, McMahon organized a threesome with her and her physical therapist, telling her he would lose a friendship if she did not go through with it. She claimed in the lawsuit that during the encounter, he defecated on her head, but made her continue to perform sex acts with the two while she was covered in feces. She alleged in the days following, he texted her, "I'm the only one who owns you and controls who I want to fuck you." Is any of this evidence even made available at the moment? Do we even know that yet? Is there any evidence at all to support this here, along with the allegations? Is there anything she has? Like, I want the evidence. Listen, if he fucked up, let's find out what he fucked up and let's get him taken care of. But it's been 18 months here. When are you going to stop? Okay, you've gone after him. Okay, you've gone after him. You got him to resign. You got one scalp. But then he came back. He came back into the company. He got back in the board of directors. And he got to sell the company. You lost. And now you're coming back in here. And you're deciding, we're going to go after Vince McMahon again. Joe Palazzo and Ted Mann. You're doing the same bullshit again. For what? And here you are, one more time. Bullshit. And now instead what you did was you made this young lady come out and now speak out. If she's been emotionally traumatized and she's been physically and sexually abused, you're now putting her out in the public eye. Now people are going to start digging into her. What the fuck is wrong with you people? You're no worse than he is. Do you understand? You're using this young lady. You're using her. Now, it's one thing to be said that we don't know. Okay, the allegations are what the allegations are. But without the evidence, how are you going to convict against Vince McMahon? If you want him to pay more money because you took a settlement, $3 million, and you signed a non-disclosure agreement. When you put that there, you can't go after him for a lawsuit. So the money at the time was okay, right? In 2019, the money was fine. The settlement, the NDA, you were willing to go through with that. I mean, unfortunately, what is it that did not happen here to where somebody couldn't have gotten her help to put out a lawsuit at the time? Why now? Again, 2 years later, from the initial announcing of the allegation, the $3 million hush money pact. Now we know who it is. Who's getting hurt from this? Not Vince McMahon, Janel Grant. You're hurting her in the process. I mean, at this point, listen, do you want to go ahead and put out a civil lawsuit and then make him pay more money? Okay. Is more money going to help? I don't know, but if that's what you want. The bottom line is that the attorney here, this propped up hack attorney, who has nothing about a past of, cases or anything that she's done. She's a former circuit court judge that ran for Congress and lost. All right. She's here now representing. So it's like, this is not like some major, big money, big ticket, attorney that's going here representing her to go after Vince McMahon. No, this is some hack. He's never done anything. There's nothing in the press about her. So she loses nothing. She's doing a favor for somebody. All right. And I could care less about politics, but I know that's what it is. It's part of that too. But these two guys, okay, you want to write about this. I don't know what the Wall Street Journal keeps thinking of, like just to keep giving you stories about this. Okay, we got this lawsuit now. And all you've done right now is the lawsuit comes out, and the only thing it does, besides put out all this information, these allegations, which, listen, they have to go to a court of law. You still have to go ahead and get the lawsuit to happen so that you get Vince McMahon in court and you make him, confront his accuser, right? He has to have his day in court. But until then, what did you do? You put this lawsuit out here, and now the Wall Street Journal and all these other outlets, they get to go ahead and put her name out there, Janel Grant. Janel Grant, I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for her for having to go through all this ordeal. I don't know what happened in WWE. But no matter what, I don't know what you did to go ahead and take a settlement as part of the $14 million that was put out for settlements, right? I don't get what that part was. But that was done, and the NDA. And now this lawsuit, which, unfortunately, you're the only one. Like, there's no other women that will come forward. Like, where is an anonymous, lawsuit or a couple of women that come out there to work on this? Why are you putting this young lady out there for slaughter? Why would you do that to her? What is wrong with you people? Wall Street Journal, irresponsible. You're on a vendetta, okay? You have an infatuation, obsession, this masturbatory obsession with this guy. It's callous, it's cold, and you're no better than him. Don't think you're becoming advocates or you're doing good for somebody. No, you're not. What happens to this young lady if she doesn't win the lawsuit? And you put this out there thinking it's going to be enough power and enough of the media that's going to be able to go and have presence to go and do something to him. First of all, you did nothing to damage the pay-per-view coming up Saturday. You did nothing to their stock price. That Netflix deal is not going to get canceled, along with the other broadcast deals. All right? You've done nothing effectively to take down WWE. Right? You've been ineffective taking out WWE. You have been totally inept and ineffective going after Vince McMahon. What good are you as a newspaper? I got to do a broadcaster's podcast tonight. And by the way, traditional news media is going through a free fall. They're going off a cliff right now. There are massive layoffs. So please, I implore you, listen to the broadcaster's podcast this week and listen to the media of these types, including Wall Street Journal. They're falling apart. Falling apart. They don't have money. They're laying people off by the wayside, by the truckload. You can't, you're no better than the National Enquirer was. But you know what the National Enquirer, all right, when they used to put stories out there and they would get sued regularly for libel and slander, yeah. Sometimes they might have to go and pay, but for the most part, they got sued and they won. So where's somebody going after the Wall Street Journal to go after and continue to do this story right here? You have better things to do with yourself and your time than to out this young lady in this lawsuit, because that's what you did. That's what you really did in this story. Oh, another hit piece on Vince McMahon? Oh, what's new? What you did this time was you outed this young lady. You are scumbags, Wall Street Journal. You are scumbags for doing this. Joe Palazzo and Ted Mann, blood is on your hands, okay? You guys did this. You put this young lady at risk. What happens to her? God forbid something that she does to herself. Something happens to her. And whose fault is that? It's on you. I am not defending Vince McMahon. I'm going to be really crystal clear on that. We know that Vince McMahon has done some shit. All right? He paid all that settlement money. He did some very nefarious bullshit. For the fact that no one decided to go ahead and take him down, all right. But this was something that was already taken. This was something that already happened, right? This young lady was already out there and put her story out there, right? She went ahead and got the settlement money. She took the money. And unfortunately, that was the one part that also sucks, is that this whole thing happened when both of her parents passed away. What a poor thing. This is not right. This was not a good thing. Yeah, Vince was very, he probably looked as kind of premeditated, and he was very persuasive and manipulative, and he really found his way to go the Jedi mind trick on this young lady to get her in to work with him. Like, that does that does suck to see that happen. And regardless, it's like, now you just put that name out there. And I hope and pray nothing happens to her. I hope she's okay. And Ann Callis, by the way, you're the one now out there representing her. I bet, you better do right by this young lady in terms of protecting her. from herself, from the damage that's being done right now by having to have this story put out there and her name now being put out and thrown out to everybody. The media might go ahead and go after her when it comes to Vince McMahon, but you know what? It's Janel Grant. That's the one that's getting suffered. I mean, look, Vince McMahon can go ahead and get crapped on all he wants. He doesn't care about the negative press. He doesn't care about another allegation. That's all. It's just another lawsuit. Another lawsuit, he'll probably win. Or get settled out of court. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's it. So I'll come back tomorrow and we'll do a recap of Royal Rumble. But anyway, this is why I do shows like this. It's one of those episodes I didn't want to do, but I felt like I needed to go and get my rant out. I had to go and say it somewhere, so that's why I do it for you guys. King of Podcast out. Come back tomorrow for another Wrestling Because We're podcast because wrestling needs us.